Lovely. So, welcome again to another installment of Investment Frequency with the UTC. So, we're here on Heartbeat Radio and Radio 90.5. Of course, I want to thank all of our listeners so far for tuning in. We have been learning a lot over the past weeks. And today, we are joined by one of our friends from UTC, Ms. Keshma Maharaj. Welcome to Heartbeat Radio and Radio 90.5. I'm Tiquela here. And listen, I am eager to learn what you have to share with us, because today's topic is one that I'm sure, like myself, many people would have heard about it and they would have said, I have no clue what that is. That is something above my pay grade that I'm not going to pay attention to. So our topic for today is actually focusing on the global green light, TNT, off the EU blacklist. Now, the reason I'm so excited to meet you, Keshma, is because you are the head of compliance at the Unitrust Corporation. So tell us a little bit about what you like about working in compliance and why you decided to choose compliance.
So I've spent over 20 years in compliance, working in the field, focusing on areas like anti-money laundering, financial crime prevention, and regulatory governance. And why did I get into this field? Back in the early 2000s, when Trinidad and Tobago was attempting to be compliant with the anti-money laundering laws, we were a group of persons got into compliance at that point in time, being strong in operations and having a good foundation in banking.
Right.
Now, my day-to-day work involves policies, frameworks, and international standards. But what really drives me is the idea of protection. Because what I'm doing is protecting the financial system, protecting the trust that people put into it. As the head of compliance at UTC, I see my role as being a guardian for our unit holders' trust. Compliance is often viewed as technical or regulatory, but at its core, it's about safeguarding people's investments and ensuring that the systems around them are strong, transparent, and resilient.
I see.
My areas include AML CFT, financial crime prevention, and regulatory governance, and strengthening risk and compliance cultures at financial institutions.
Right.
These disciplines ensure that financial systems operate with integrity, credibility, and with international confidence.
Nice. Now, these tie right into our topic, as I mentioned, because I like to think of compliance. When I hear that name, that department, I think of them like the police. They are the police in any financial institution. And if you're not doing something right when it comes to how you're filling out your forms or how you're supposed to gather your information and put them together, compliance is going to come at you. Now, as you mentioned, that is important for protecting the different structures that you have in place to make sure that people's investments are protected. And I guess that's happening, as I mentioned, right in line with our topic. Back in February of 2026, we would have heard some news. As I mentioned, this is kind of, okay, it's up there. What does it mean when we hear that TNT has been removed from the EU blacklist? Now, when you think of a blacklist, immediately to me, I'm thinking, all right, that means we're no longer naughty. So maybe in some kind of way, people are going to view us differently. And by people, I mean internationally. So that could swing us straight into looking at understanding what that meant. So saying that we are officially removed from the EU or the European Union blacklist, how does the average person really come to terms with that? Like, what does that mean for John Doe on the street who just heard it over the news? We're not really into finance that much. We don't know what that means for our reputation and so on as a country, or even trickling down to an individual. Like, how does it affect the average person?
Well, think about being on the blacklist like a country's credit score.
Okay.
And bringing this to the average individual. If our credit score isn't good, banks would not want to lend money to us, or business wouldn't want to do business with us. So being on the European Union blacklist, it was like Trinidad and Tobago having a poor credit rating.
Oh boy.
It signaled to the world that we weren't fully meeting the international standards for transparency. Now that we've been removed, it's like our score has been repaired. We received the green light, and it tells the world that TNT is a safe, transparent, and fair place to do business.
I see. Now, I heard you mention some blocks of letters there, EML and CFT, and that comes straight into play with this, doesn't it? That would be anti-money laundering and counter funding of terrorism.
Right.
Yes. All right. So once we doing everything, as you mentioned, transparent, making sure that we meet all of the guidelines, all of the information we should have in play. I can see how that would, as you mentioned, let the world know that, yes, we are actually up to standard. We are, not trying to allow any shady business to pass under the table, so to speak. So that's good to know that we are making steps in that direction. Now, you're the head of compliance for the Unitrust Corporation. So I imagine your team would have been busy around that time, leading up to that announcement. What does compliance actually have to do with that removal, with us being removed from the list?
Oh, everything.
Everything.
Because compliance is all about paying attention to the international standards and transitioning the international standards into our daily operations.
Okay, right.
So to get off the list, what we had to do as a country together was to prove that we are following global best practices. So at UTC, we didn't just sit and wait for the news in February. We were actually strengthening our own governance and due diligence for years behind the screens, right?
Nice.
We made sure that every transaction and every policy aligned with the international standards. It was like a lot of hard work because it was paying attention to all the various amendments that was taking place internationally. But what it gave our unit holders was the peace of mind that the company that they're invested in is actually a world-class institution.
I see. So I'm beginning to actually see the picture now and not just be confused by the news. So this is great. I'm sure our listeners as well, you'd be learning a lot and understanding now what was meant by that piece of news that was hit. And you might also be leaning into what it could mean for you as an individual. It may not be a big business owner per se or someone who does trade internationally, but you would already start to see how it would affect you. So to our listeners, if on that note or so far you have any questions, remember you can WhatsApp us here on Heartbeat Radio at 338-4288 and on Radio 90.5 as well, 364-9050. You can send in your questions. If you have any questions for our friends at UTC, of course, they are willing to answer. And you can listen out on the show, pay attention to our social media as well. We'll be posting some of the answers and answering your questions live here as well. So you are tuned into the investment frequency. If you're just joining us, you missed a little bit, but that's okay. Tuesdays and Thursdays, you can join us right here on Heartbeat Radio and Radio 90.5. And of course, we are chatting with the head of compliance from the Unitrust Corporation, Ms. Keshma, who is letting us know about TNT being removed from the EU blacklist. So far, for the person listening or someone with funds at the UTC now, why should they care about the decision made all the way over in Europe? So we're looking at what it actually means for them, for their investment. How does it affect them?
So it absolutely affects everyone in Trinidad and Tobago. When international barriers fall, meaning that we are accepted as a country, right, our foreign investors starts looking at Trinidad and Tobago again. Right. So having the green light means that we are now in the light of other investors.
So we're catching people's eyes out there.
That's right.
Right.
This usually leads to more liquidity. And what does liquidity means? It's just a fancy way of saying that money is going to be flowing through our local stock exchange. This can lead to better pricing of our government bonds, more stable environment overall, and simply put, when the country's global reputation improves, your investment becomes more valuable.
I like that. I'm guessing there's going to be a lot more. You mentioned liquidity. my mind instantly goes to foreign exchange, so opportunities open up when you are obedient, so to speak, when you are very transparent, as you mentioned before as well.
Mm-hmm.
So does this mean that we might see new opportunities for growth and investment portfolios in Trinidad and Tobago?
Sure. A clean reputation attracts a bigger business and more international confidence.
Mm-hmm.
For the unit holder, this means you are operating in an economy that is no longer burdened by negative associations.
Right. Good.
It will open doors for market opportunities that were previously restricted. It's about building a foundation of trust so that your assets have the best possible chance to grow over the long term.
Nice. I like that. So now we can, as I mentioned before, we can see how it's going to translate to us. More opportunities, more investors who may have been looking at us before but thinking, but they haven't passed, they haven't gotten the green light from the EU, so to speak. But now we have. So it's nice to see that we have lots of options in our future when it comes to investment, some strength in our portfolios and all of that. So that is very nice. But what is the one thing you want to leave the listeners with? One takeaway from that news, now that we understand what it means? We've broken it down to how it affects each person individually. What is that one piece of information you'd like our listeners to take away?
So this removal is a massive national effort to meet global standards. So at Unitrust, our focus remains the same: to manage the risk so that our unit holders don't have to. We are committed to protecting our unit holders' capital and staying ahead of global changes.
Nice. You know what I feel there? The word stability came to mind. And I love that. The work has gone in on the back end. Some of these things we won't know. We come in, we invest, and we go away. But it's nice to know that there are persons like you at the UTC working to make sure that the funds, the portfolios are stable and we can have a reliable source there, a reliable, safe place to store our funds and watch it grow over time. So thank you so much, Keshma, for your information today. We have come to the end of another investment frequency here on Heartbeat Radio and Radio 90.5. Of course, if you would like to get in touch, as I mentioned before, listeners, you can send us a WhatsApp right here on Heartbeat Radio at 338-4288 or on Radio 90.5 at 364-9050. Any of your financial related questions, investment questions, we have covered quite an array of topics so far. You can send in your questions and our friends at the UTC, they're ready and willing to answer. And we'll get to it. We'll get to chatting about our financial future or stability as a country even, right here on Heartbeat Radio and Radio 90.5. So Keshma, thank you so much again for joining us and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you very much for having me here.
You're welcome.
And before I go, to add to submitting questions to the various mediums to contact the studio.
Right.
Persons can also get more information by visiting our website, ttutc.com.
Nice.
And any one of our 9 investment centers located throughout Trinidad and Tobago.
Lovely. So you can also reach out to UTC directly. They are there. The email address, do you know the website name?
Yeah, the website, the Trinidad and Tobago Unitrust Corporation's website. It's www.ttutc.com.
TTUTC, nice. So it's quite easy to remember, TTUTC, and you'll be good to go. So thank you again, Keshma, for joining us. And we shall be on another investment frequency Tuesdays and Thursdays right here on Heartbeat Radio and Radio 90.5.
You're welcome.